I just want to do a quick video response to an individual in the comment section named Mike Walsh. And, he's been putting a couple comments up recently about, well, Babylon is actually Mecca, right? It's not, it's not America. It's actually Mecca. So I just want to do a quick response to a couple of the things that this individual said. Now, I did invite this individual to join me on live stream to have a conversation, but for whatever reason, he declined my offer. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just use him as an example, of how not everybody should be, teaching the Bible, right? How everybody seems to have a opinion, right? Everybody out here seems to have an opinion of, what they believe the Bible is talking about. But then when you show them book, chapter, verse to prove them wrong, a lot of people, don't want to acknowledge the text. And that's for, an entire range of different subjects. But the title of today's video, I should say the topic of today's video, is proving that Mecca over in Saudi Arabia is not a mystery Babylon that the Bible speaks of. So this individual left a comment and said, Revelation chapter 18, verse 19, it says, and they threw dust on their heads and they cried, weeping and wailing. And then he said, throwing dust on your head is a Middle Eastern expression of grief and despair. This is a big clue as to the location of Babylon the Great. Now, the text that he is referring to, I'll read a little bit above for context, but it's Revelation chapter 18. Let's start at verse 15. It says, and the merchants of these things which are made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, the great city, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour such great riches have came to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many as traded by the sea, stood afar off, and they cried, when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city can be compared unto this great city? Verse 19, and they cast dust upon their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city, wherein we were made rich, all they had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour was she made desolate. Right, so he's trying to argue when it says, well, these individuals cast dust upon their heads. That shows that it's somewhere like in the Middle East, because that's a custom they do over there in, a state of mourning. Now, while it is true that casting dust upon one's head is a practice of mourning that is practiced in, the Middle East, that is true. But what this is talking about, first I want to point out, these are the men who are standing afar off watching Babylon. So these are like the rich merchants that have become rich off of sending their merchandise to Babylon. So, first of all, these people are not even in Babylon. These are the people that are standing afar off and crying over her. So, even by the context of this, if you wanted to say that, it's literal and, they practice it in the Middle East, it's like, okay, but that still doesn't prove that Mecca's Babylon, because these are not people living in Babylon. These are people standing afar off. Like, say, for example, look at verse 17. It says, For in 1 hour such great riches as came to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors, and as many who traded by the sea, stood afar off, and they cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city can be compared unto this great city? Right, so these are the merchant men who are going to be, as it says, standing afar off, right, far away, around the world, who are watching Babylon burn, right? It says they saw the smoke come up from the city, and they're weeping and mourning over her, because now nobody can buy their merchandise anymore. So even by his reasoning, right, like if you just read the context of what it's talking about, these are not even people who are at Babylon. These are people that are far off watching her burn. And yeah, when this actually happens in the future, there are going to be men in Saudi Arabia who are, billionaires or, became rich off of selling their merchandise in America, who perhaps would do that, seeing it. Now, I'll say this. In this context of this chapter, it's most likely just metaphoric about them casting dust upon their heads and weeping and wailing. It's just saying that, symbolizing that they're in a state of mourning over it. So it doesn't literally mean that they're going to put dust on their heads and cry, just like what happened thousands of years ago as a traditional practice. Right? Like back when the text was written 2,000 years ago, back then that was a practice that many cultures even did. Like, say, for instance, like perhaps people in India might even practice that today, for an example, and other countries in the world. But the point is that the Bible is just saying that they're going to be weeping and mourning over her. Right? So it could just be like metaphoric, meaning that they're mourning over Babylon for the loss that they had, right? Because she went down. Now nobody can buy their merchandise anymore because she made them all rich. Right? So when it says that they weep and mourn and put dust upon their heads, it could be literal, but it could just be metaphoric. But regardless, it simply just shows that they're in a state of mourning. That's all it shows. So this has nothing to do with, well, Babylon must be located in the Middle East, because putting dust upon one's head, it's a practice with mourning. It's like, okay, well, it is true in the Middle East that can be practiced, thousands of years ago, perhaps even today. That doesn't prove that that's where Babylon is. So you clearly have a lack of reading comprehension skills, because I've shown you by context, these are the merchant men who became rich off of Babylon. These are not the people living in Babylon. So, I mean, he's completely confounded off of that point alone. Now, I threw up a comment response to him, and I said, nope, throwing dust on one's head is an ancient way of mourning among many cultures, and it could simply be symbolic, meaning they are in a state of mourning. Now, even if it is literal, it would still not prove your point, because those are the kings of the earth and merchantmen standing afar off from Babylon, weeping over her, not people actually living in Babylon. So you are wrong by your argument. Then he puts up a response and says, look up, it's a Middle Eastern custom, which again, I do agree that that's a Middle Eastern custom, but there are many other cultures in the world who have practiced that over the course of time, and perhaps even do to this day. But that doesn't prove that Babylon's in the Middle East. So he's cut. But then he said, look it up, it's a Middle Eastern custom, not something that's done in the U.S. or Europe. Mystery Babylon the Great is a city. It is Mecca. Mecca is the city of the biggest false pagan religion ever. Mecca imports everything. Well, first of all, I want to point out, well, while on one hand it might be true that Mecca is like one of the holiest sites of Islam, perhaps that's true, but Babylon is not a religious system, though. Right? So even if there's, a billion Muslims that, in their lifetime have to venture over there to circle the, the Kaaba, that doesn't prove that that's Babylon, because Babylon in the Bible is not a religious thing. It's just a city that rules over the earth. Like if you read Revelation chapter 17 and verse 18, it says, the woman that you saw is that great city that reigns over the kings of the earth. Right? So nothing in the Bible demonstrates that Babylon is like a religious system. Hell, this is where, some of these Christians go off too, because they try to say that, Babylon's actually the Vatican, right? The Roman Catholic Church. It's like, no, that's not true. You guys just clearly don't know what the hell's going on. Okay, so anyway, I put up a response to him and I said, you clearly need to pay better attention. I did agree that it's an ancient custom. That is true, but the people in this chapter doing it are the people living around the world watching Babylon burn. Your argument means nothing at all. Mecca don't fit anything described as Babylon. The merchants of the earth are not becoming rich by Mecca. That is a lie. Revelation chapter 17, verse 18, a woman you've seen is that great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Clearly, America has more influence over the earth today than Mecca in about every way possible. Babylon is not a religion or a religious system, so not sure what you're talking about. Now, if you disagree, you're welcome to call into the weekly live stream, or we can have a conversation about the subject. Feel free to join. That he says, Mystery Babylon is a city, not a country. Your opinion of who you think Babylon is doesn't matter. What matters is what's written in the Bible, which I agree. My opinion and your opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what the Word of God has to say. I agree with you on that. But if you use some common sense, you clearly see that Mecca is not a city that rules over the world today. I'll give you an example. I don't know if you, whatever this knucklehead's name was, but I don't know if you've been paying attention to the weekly news. But you might recall within the last month or so, the U.S. invaded Venezuela, right, a sovereign, independent country in South America, and they captured their president, right? So I got to ask you, what nation today is so powerful that it can literally invade a sovereign nation and steal their dictator, steal their president, with no repercussions at all? Nobody's going to step up and confront them. Hell, the EU's not going to confront America about invading a sovereign nation and stealing their president by force, by gunpoint. Just because he said a couple things on, Twitter or Facebook that Donald Trump didn't agree with. So he literally invaded Venezuela and captured this dude. What other country in the world can invade another nation and steal their dictator and nothing happens, right? There's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no response from any other nation to that. Whereas, say, for instance, Russia, on the other hand, hell, America and the EU, hell, they stood up and are condemning Russia to this very day, put all types of, sanctions upon them, all types of, other financial hardships, freezing their bank accounts where they have, trillions of dollars, in U.S. Currency that they have, be able to freeze their bank accounts, cut business ties with them, put sanctions upon them. Shit, ain't nobody doing that to America. What the hell are you talking about? Ain't nobody doing that to America. And it's very clear, out of the world today, which, by the way, this guy probably doesn't even know how many countries are in the world. Shit, this dude probably don't even know that Africa is a continent, not a country. At least that's what I'm getting from, listening to his nonsense that this guy is saying in the comment section here, right? But you know what? Out of the 197 countries that exist on the earth today, what country has the most influence over all those countries? That's a question for you. Is it Russia? Is it China? Is it India? Is it Pakistan? Is it London? Is it America? Now, anybody that has any common sense is able to... sorry, I had to pause for just a minute or two, but going back to what I was talking about, right? What country on earth has the most influence over the other nations? And obviously the answer to that question is America, right? American culture has influence over all the nations upon the earth. I'll give an example. I watch a lot of these travel videos and vloggers on YouTube, like Drew Binsky, Christmas List, the Indigo Traveler, the Homeless Pelican, so on and so forth. There's the 10,000 of these guys, on YouTube. And, one thing they ask people around the world when they visit, all these foreign countries around the world, they ask them, if you could go anywhere on earth, to relive or live the dream life, right? Where do you want to go? And everybody, by 95% of people, again, that's no exaggeration, literally 95% of the people they ask say, oh, well, I dream of going to America, right? I want to see the Big Apple, right? I want to go to America and live my dream. Again, that's the answer everyone gives. Everybody's been sold that lie of the American dream. You can come to America, and live it big here, right? But the point is, everybody has that influence over from America, right? America has influence over the nations of the earth. And it's not really a debatable thing. Just to prove that point, let's jump back a chapter. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 1. It says, "And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show unto you the judgment of the great whore that sits upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Now, what are those waters right there? Now, let's jump down to verse 15. It says, "And he said unto me, The waters which I saw where the whore sits are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." Right? You ever heard the term America is called the great melting pot, meaning what? That you can find all types of, all religions, all nationalities, all beliefs are mingled together in America, right? This is a big, what's the word I'm looking for? This is confusion. First of all, the word Babylon, which this knucklehead probably doesn't know what the word Babylon means, but the word Babylon means confusion. That's what the word Babylon means. It goes back to the Tower of Babel in Genesis, the 11th chapter, right, where God confused the languages so people couldn't understand each other. But the point is, the word Babylon means confusion. America, hell, there's no place on earth that's more confusing than America, man. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I was going for a walk the other day. This grown-ass man, in his late 20s, walking around dressed up like a damn, ballerina out here. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. You go to damn Burger King, the dude serving you at the window is a trans person, right? You got to, use the right, term so you don't offend him, because you can get in trouble for that. It's so bad out here. See a woman walking around at the store you might find attractive. Turns out that might actually be a dude that undergone a gender change surgery. So this is confusion, right? You got grown people out here, like there's dudes out there being pushed around in carts like little kids. There's people out here, dressing up like a damn dog, right? Literally going for a walk on a leash, right? Pissing in the neighbor's yard. This is real. This is actually going on out here, man. So again, the MECCA isn't confusion. Sure, maybe there's a false religion over there, Islam. Maybe that. But other than that, what other confusion's coming out of Islam or MECCA? I mean, that can't be compared with what's going on here in America, man. Like, I mean, come on, man. You need to wake the hell up. You clearly have no knowledge of what you're talking about. All right, let's go to Revelation 18. Let's go to verse 21 and read on down. Let's see if this represents Saudi Arabia and Mecca, or if it more so fits America. Verse 21, it says, "And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone," inside joke, "and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall the great city be thrown down, and will be found no more at all. The voice of harpers and musicians and pipers and trumpeters will be heard no more at all in you. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all who were slain upon the earth." Right, so does that fit America, or does that fit Saudi Arabia? Think about that for a second, right? Like, I don't see Saudi Arabia raging wars all over the world, basically its entire existence. Now, sure, I'm not going to deny maybe throughout its history it's done atrocities and evil things, over the centuries. I'm not going to deny that. But the fact is that it doesn't fit the description of Babylon that the Bible describes, right? Neither does Rome, neither does Jerusalem, and so on and so forth. That's just a fact. So then let's just go back to our comment board interaction. So I responded to him and said, "You don't know the Bible with your childish babblings. Do you even know what the word Babylon means? Confusion? Now, America is basically a big city. You were just playing semantics." Oh, yeah, because remember, he's trying to say, oh, well, it's a city, man. It's a city, not a country. So it can't be America because America's a country, not a city. But he's going to get oh, man. This guy's getting spoon-fed right here, man. Right? This guy is clearly just, not on the level with what he's talking about. See where I leave off? Now, America is basically a big city. You are just playing semantics. Now, let's use your logic for a second. Couldn't New York be a better candidate or contender for Babylon than Mecca? Think about it. It's the financial capital of the world and one of the top tourist attractions and destinations in the world. Did you know another city in America, Los Angeles, is nicknamed Sin City? My point still stands. America is making the merchants of the earth rich, not Mecca. Right, so I completely annihilated this guy and said, okay, well, if you want to play semantics, oh, well, it's a city, man. It's not actually a country. Well, first of all, America really is one big city. Like, say, for instance, whether you go from California to Florida to New York and everywhere in between, right? Kentucky, Minnesota, Ohio, so on and so forth, right? All 50 states, all America, right? All Americans, everybody's an American, right? And if you look up a city, right, definition can mean, if you do the research on it, basically the extent of the empire, like say, for instance, like with Rome and all of the territory it had, all of the citizens in that territory would be considered Roman. So it's like one big city, right? Because they're all the same people, right? So America, even though there's 50 different states, they're all American, right? They're all one together. So in the Bible's context, that would be considered a massive city, not a country. That's just what we call them today, a country. But in the Bible's context, that would be a city. Like, I'll give you an example. If you look at from one of these satellite imagery, looking down, or if you ever been on an airliner at night and you look down and you look at the city, it's all, lit up. It's all lit up all together. So you can't see like the start between, this city and, 5 cities over, because it looks all the same, right? It's all just connected together. So in all these aspects that you look at it, it's just one big city. And then also to look at it, there's something in America called federal law, which means that it's a decree that all cities and all states must abide by, right? Sometimes there are local decrees that change from state to state, but there are decrees called federal law that all states have to abide by. Why is that? Because this is one massive city is what this is. This is a massive city. It's all together as one in God's eyes and in the biblical perspective. America is a big city. So what this guy is saying, he's just using a semantic argument that literally holds no water, holds no weight at all. Just a semantic novice argument that he's trying to say here. And then, I even refuted him with his own logic. I said, okay, well, let's just assume this for a second. Like, let's just assume that it was like one literal city, right? So if you don't want to accept America being a whole city, let's just say this for an argument's sake. So wouldn't New York or Los Angeles be a better contender for Babylon compared to Mecca, though? Like, if you, in your novice, ignorant view and perspective, believe in all, it's, just one city, man, just one small place. It's like, okay, well, wouldn't New York be a better contender? Or what about Los Angeles? The nickname of that city is literally Sin City. So why would they not be a better contender for Babylon? Like, if you were to just say it's like one literal location, if we can't pick all of America, it's like, okay, well, what about Los Angeles or New York? Like, why would they not be a good contender for Mystery Babylon by this numbskull's ignorant view. Like, I mean, seriously, like what are you talking about, man? This is getting ridiculous at this point. Then he says, you don't get it. But then it requires a mind that has wisdom to understand prophetic scripture and fun in your rabbit hole. Then I respond and say, excuse me, sir, but you are not at all the first person who I've debated on this subject, LOL. Now I invited you to join me live to discuss the subject. If you don't want to do that, you are the one running from the discussion, not me, buddy. Now I have provided numerous examples of why you are wrong with your statement. I hear no answers from you to these points provided. I, on the other hand, address everything you said and proven you are ignorant. Then he says, you haven't provided anything. Well, we clearly see that as a damn lie. I've clearly provided, at least 5, 6 different points for why MECCA isn't Babylon. He said, you haven't provided anything, but remember this, the first rule of Bible prophecy is that it is Jerusalem-centric. The Bible prophecy will be fulfilled in the Middle East. Yeah, I don't see where the hell you get that from, man. But like, what book, chapter, and verse are you referring to? Then he refers me, says, check out Joel Robinson and David Ranfell or something, and they will educate you as to who Babylon is. Yeah, I'm not interested in what those probably Edomites have to say about the subject. I mean, it's very obvious that in today's day and age, the only nation on earth that fits the description of Babylon is America. And anybody that doesn't want to acknowledge that, then you're just dumb. I mean, sorry, man. But, we're really beyond the point of debating, who or what it is. If you're unsure, you're just delusional and gullible. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. But hey, not everybody can have the truth. There always has to be some dumb and stupid people in the world. There always has to be, people teaching falsehood, especially today with the rise of the internet. Knuckleheads out here teaching all types of stupid shit. Knuckleheads out here saying that the God of the Old Testament is the devil. Got knuckleheads out here. Here, bear for me 1 second. Yeah, got knuckleheads out here. Oh, you don't gotta keep the law, man. You don't gotta, God's commandments are like all done away, right? It was all done away. You got people out here teaching that, rapture of September 23rd, and then, doing live streams like every day, looking out for it. Got this other knucklehead somewhere in Africa telling people, the world's going to flood again on, December the 25th. You all better, get into the arks that I'm making so you don't get left behind in this flood. You got knuckleheads out here saying that Christ already returned the second time in 70 AD, right? These preterist knuckleheads. I mean, we could keep going on and on and on, but the point is already made and clear that there's a lot of dumb shit being told on the internet today. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no, no lack of just stupid nonsense that's on the internet. Like shit, let me give an example. Like I watch this individual, I believe his YouTube channel is called Born Into a Corrupt System. Just like this older guy, talking about life and, the how everything's like unfair. It makes a lot of good points. Not religious though. But there was some knucklehead, like some so-called truther that was trying to say, well, this guy's like an agent, actor. It's being paid. It's like, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? I went to this guy's channel because I was so pissed off when I saw the comment of how stupid this knucklehead is. And the dude literally did like an hour-long video expose of, Born Into a Corrupt System and quote-unquote exposing him as being paid to, lie to people. It's like, what the hell is he being paid to lie to people about exactly? Like, can you give one example of what he's lying about by exposing how corrupt just everyday life is, how expensive everyday life is? Like, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, shit, it's getting so dumb out here now that there's even been, stupid-ass people even saying that I might be AI. Like, I was doing a video premiere where you see me sitting there talking, and one guy in the comment was like, well, hell, this guy might even be AI. How do we know this guy is actually real? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just getting just ridiculous out here with how dumb some people are. Like Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind. Oh, I don't know, man. Right? Oh, I don't know. Everything ain't real. Right? Knucklehead so convinced that, no airplanes were used on September 11th. I showed a dude a video from civilians capturing the second plane, and he was like, oh, I don't know, man. Well, it seems like all edited and fake to me. Yeah, the screaming crowds, those are all crisis actors. I mean, there comes a point when you need to you need to stop being dumb. You know what I'm saying? It comes a point when you need to stop being dumb. Or even Jay out here. Which, again, I don't like to say it because, I considered Jay to be a friend of mine for a number of years, but even he's, going way off now with what he's saying. Oh, well, Adolf was like some type of hero or something. It's like, what the hell are you talking about, man? How can you, on one hand, claim you represent Christ and represent, a God of righteousness, but then on the other hand, oh, well, Adolf was actually like a great man that should be respected. Like, come on, man. You need to be, you're just dumb. But anyway, I gotta wrap the video up there.